We're glad you guys could join us for this segment where we're going to talk a little bit about financing your vehicles through the credit union. And I want to go ahead and welcome our guest. This is David Johns. David, good to see you. We're glad you could make it today. David is the president of Credit Union Auto Finders, and he's going to talk a little bit about wholesaling in our next segment. But right now we want to talk to you a little bit about the basics of what you can expect when you're trying to finance through the credit union. So we're just going to have a brief conversation, and hopefully you guys will get some nuggets out of this that you can use in the future as you're starting to finance your vehicles on your lot. So let me ask you this, DJ, and he goes by DJ, if that's okay. We're so glad you're here. So tell me about financing with the credit union. What do you suggest? How do they start?
Well, I think the best thing is to try to determine what credit unions might be in their local area and whether they are a local community, freestanding one office, or if they are part of a larger credit union and a branch office. And each credit union is going to have different appetites as to what type of lending they want to do. Most credit unions are very active in auto loans, and I think you'll find that credit unions are unlike a bank in that they are more willing to be flexible and work with a member to try to help them. The best thing to do would be, again, find the local office, give them a call or make an appointment, go by and meet with the branch manager or the president or the head of lending for the credit union, and try to determine, what is their appetite, what parameters do they operate under. You'll have two different kinds of credit unions primarily. You'll have employment-based credit unions where you have to be an employee of a particular company or group of companies in order to become a member of the credit union and do financing. And then you'll have community-based credit unions where within a certain geographic area, if you live or work in that geographic area, you can become a member of the credit union and do financing. And determine, as you talk to whoever it is that you meet with at the credit union, what their appetite is, what type of parameters they work under, and then how would it be best for you to feed them potential members, potential applications. Most credit unions now will do an online application. I know that a dealership that I'm affiliated with will actually sit at the computer and coach the potential customer through the online application, then contact the credit union to let them know, hey, you've got an app coming from this individual, they're one of our customers. But a credit union can make a great source. Most of them are much more flexible than banks, much more customer oriented than banks. But you've got to find out what their sweet spot is. You've got to find out, what their credit criteria is. You'll have some credit unions are only going to want A and B. You'll have some credit unions that'll go all the way down into C. Very few are going to go below C on a credit score. And most credit unions, like most other financing organizations, they price their rates according to where you fit credit score-wise.
Okay, but usually better than a bank.
Yes, usually better than a bank, both in terms of the rate, as well in terms of the flexibility on term.
Okay.
I work with one credit union, quite frankly. If it's a 2005 and the value's there, they'll finance it for 5 years.
Wow.
But it has to be within the parameters on the value, and then the credit has to be there as well. If it's someone with a little weaker credit, they're going to want to go to a shorter term.
Okay.
But again, each credit union has their own appetite, and the best thing to do is investigate and learn what that appetite is and how you might be able to fit in it. If you do get a relationship established with a credit union, I would definitely encourage you to visit that credit union. Visit them, a couple of times a month. Show up in the morning with donuts.
That's right.
Show up at lunchtime with cookies or just something Some credit unions will let you incentivize lending officers.
Really?
Where if that lending officer has one of their members that's looking for a car, and maybe they go on your website and they see a car that you might be able to sell them that would fit, if in turn you end up selling that car, some credit unions will let you compensate that lending officer with a stipend.
Wow.
It just, again, it depends on the credit union. There are some that will, probably fewer that will than won't, unless you have some type of a deeper relationship with the credit union. I know with the two credit unions that I work with, one of them doesn't allow that, one of them does, but we also have a much deeper relationship other than just doing car buying for their members. We help them with a lot of things, anything automotive related, we're their go-to people.
Oh, wow, that's great. Let me ask you this question. So, we do have some rebuilders in our group. Is it a fit at all? I mean, will these credit unions look at rebuilt titles, or are they going to just say, no, we don't even touch those?
Typically not. Typically credit unions don't deal in rebuilt titles, and those that do are going to want to finance at the most 50 cents on the dollar, and they're going to want the shortest term possible. So I don't know that credit unions are going to be a good source, and especially in trying to establish a relationship with a credit union, I wouldn't take them a rebuilt car and a customer as my first opportunity.
That sounds like good advice.
Build a relationship with them with some good customers on, solid cars, and then have the conversation. Would you consider a rebuilt title?
Yeah.
And if you would, what are the parameters that you're willing to consider it on?
Great. Well, that's some great tips. Now, what about traditional banks? I know you're more on the credit union end of it, but what tips can you give? Again, these guys are just starting out. They're new in the business, and so they're introductory to what do I do? Who am I going to go seek out? Again, I agree with you. Credit union is a great avenue to go. They're going to give you longer terms. They're going to definitely, help the member get qualified. As a matter of fact, I've seen a credit union with someone with a 600 credit score get financing for 72 months at like 5.5%, which is crazy because banks aren't going to touch that.
No.
So let's talk real quick about banks. What are the banks looking for?
Well, I think you've got to determine, first of all, what type of bank you have in your community that you can work with. If it is a local community bank, local and specific to your community, they're going to be more willing to work with you as far as doing financing. If it is a regional bank or a national bank, they're really not interested in independent dealers. They want franchise dealers. And even if they do take independent dealers, you're going to have to go through their dealer department to get set up, and there's a lot more hoops that you would have to jump through. But if you've got a local community bank that specializes in serving the community, again, go sit down with the president or vice president, somebody at that bank, and just discuss what appetite is there, how will they do it. I don't think you're going to be able to walk in and get any kind of dealer compensation for bringing them loans,
Right.
But it may help you finance. And you also may be dealing with their customers that come to your lot to look at a car. And that may be one of the, if you have a relationship with a local community bank and you find out that one of your customers is a customer of that bank, that's probably the first place I would go to see about doing financing. But again, you're going to have a lot better luck working with a community, locally owned, operated bank than you are with any of the regional and national banks.
Right. And I have to agree with David. Me as a dealer, small dealer, we had a great relationship actually with Athens First Bank, which is now Synovus, so they've gone on the larger side, but still it feels very homey when you go in there, and they are willing to make much better deals than the big banks like the Wells Fargos and the SunTrust of the world. So
Right.
totally agree with you on that, and I appreciate your input on that. What about for those people that, boy, they just kind of screwed up their credit and they're sitting in the doghouse? Where do you go? Any ideas?
Well, there are some companies out there that will buy folks that have had credit problems in the past. Typically, though, it's very expensive to the customer, and they're going to want to put themselves in a position that in a worst-case scenario, they get the car back, they're going to be able to come out.
Right.
So I don't know how that would work. Again, you just have to explore who in your area might be willing to do it. You know, if you are acclimated towards doing buy here, pay here, that's something you can do. You just need to, I strongly advise somebody just getting into business, walk very slowly down that path.
And we're going to have you on a segment in just a few minutes on that, and I appreciate you bringing that up. For you guys, though, just to let you know, there are a couple companies that I've dealt with because I did deal with challenged credit people. And the two that I can recommend are Lendmark and First Franklin Financial. Both of those are for subprime people, people that don't have good credit scores. And DJ here gave you some great advice. Go meet them, talk to them, establish a relationship with them, because those are the ones that they see you more. They're more to say, you know, DJ, he's a pretty good guy. You know, we'll take a risk on him because it seems like the deals aren't coming back to me when he finances or when he sends someone to finance for him. So the better your relationship, the better it's going to be for you. But the thing about just, I don't know if you know this, DJ, but First Franklin and Lendmark, they do finance vehicles that are rebuilt. So there's a source there. But again, like DJ said, they're very high interest. You're not going to get out of there for under 23, 24%. But DJ, thank you so much. I think you've given us a good insight into doing business with credit unions and banks and everything else. And we look forward to your next segment. So thanks so much.
You're welcome.